Today we take on a new project, Strange Terrors number 6 from 1952. Now this book is a classic horror book. The thing that makes it different, it is a 100-page square-bound book. Unfortunately, it's been smashed completely flat, almost like a regular book. So what we're going to do today is disassemble this book. It's 70 years old, and the glue on it is completely crystallized. So we're going to do our best to keep all the pieces together, then reassemble it and put it back together as a square-bound book. I'll go through all the steps. In this video, what we're going to do is take care of the cover. The inner pages will be dealt with in a separate video, and then we'll finish up with a follow-up video when we get it back from grading. Okay, now looking at our book here, we can see from the outside here the Strange Terrors, number 6. This spine was completely flat, and this is a square-bound book, and these books were not stapled like a lot of the square-bounds were. So this is what we have as a result. We have some fading due to the solvents. But that's acceptable. We do have the pieces that are missing. They're set aside right now. So on the back side of this, I do still have some residual glue here. That's going to need to come off. So we'll work on that here. We have some staining from the solvent that can't be avoided. So we have a tied line there. It's still going to be better overall than it was. The pages have all been surgically removed from the glued spine. I have those off to the side right now, and we'll take a look at those later. There is 100 pages. Now, these are single wraps. Well, I shouldn't call them a wrap because they're not a wrap. They're just single pages put into a stack, and that stack was compressed, the spine glued, the cover glued to the spine. And we used a PVA solvent to dissolve the adhesive and free it up. But this adhesive, this book is quite old. Let's see, 1952, so it's over 70 years old. The glue was completely crystallized. As you can see here, there's a lot of it. I'll be honest, it was hell getting it off. It took a long time. So now we have something to work with. Now we have a piece that I need to separate. So this piece right here, you see it is glued itself back to the page. It actually belongs right here. So we'll lift this off and we'll set that aside. And so it's all in it. So we'll have a complete spine when the thing's all done. Okay, so we're back on the main camera. We're back here. We've got it wet. It's damp. I have some Japanese paper here. We're going to put 2 layers down the spine. Remember, this is a square bound book, so I've already pre-torn it. I used a ruler to get it straight, and we're just going to gently lay this down across all the damaged area, and we'll let that dampness just make it so it doesn't move. Okay, we've covered that all up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the wheat paste, which I have over here, and I need to heat it up one more time. Okay, so in case you're wondering why are we using wheat paste and why did I have to heat it up? Well, wheat paste works well when it's warm, and the answer for why we use it is wheat paste for covers, methyl cellulose for wraps. Okay, so I try to keep my head out of here for the most part. What we want to do is brush outwards from the middle. That gets all the feathery edges bonded into the main wrap. Wheat paste is by far stronger than methyl cellulose. Okay, I'm going to stick my head in here because we're getting into a kind of a little critical area here. Now, wheat paste will bead up. That's another reason we keep it hot. So I just have a little bit of made up here, so it's cooling rapidly in my hand. So I'm trying to work really fast. And I'll pick up on all the little extra beads here in a second. Okay. Lots of extra beads here, actually. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing from the other side. Whoops, that's a big chunk. Put that back. Okay, so we want same deal. Now, because this is a heavy-duty book, square bound, we are going to put a second strip in here. I am using 6 grams per square meter of Japanese paper. So it leaves a transparent look, but the wheat paste will not. It'll be semi-transparent. If you want to go transparent, methyl cellulose, but again, there's 0 strength in methyl cellulose for doing what we're doing in this particular spot. So it's a little bit rough. That's okay. We're going to smooth it out. I'll show you how we do that in a minute. So we're going to take our second piece here, and we're going to do the same deal. We're just going to lay it out over the seam. Now this is right where the square bound is going, so you won't see it. And we are going to use archival binding glue when we reassemble the square bound. Okay. Oops. So wheat paste, along with methyl cellulose, the reason we use it, and it's for conservation, is because it can be removed. Anything I'm doing right now can be easily removed by basically soaking the wrap in water. So that's part of the criteria for conservation, is everything you do has to be removable. I'm doing my best to work quickly here because the paste is already cooling off. Normally I like to make up a bigger batch of paste, but it's like anything else with wheat, and it's wet, and guess what it does? You can keep it in the refrigerator, but ultimately it's still going to get moldy and nasty, so I'm not going to do any more archival work like this for spine repairs for probably quite some time. This is kind of a big main project. All right, so that's done now. So what we have is it's pretty rough looking. It's all beaded up. Guess what we're going to do? We are going to smash those beads down. Just like this. I can feel them underneath here. I just kind of press this down. So we're going to give it a little bit of water. Okay, so this whole section is wet again. The water is mixing with the wheat paste, and I'm basically I'm not putting a lot of pressure down. I'm just probably shaking this whole camera platform though. So I'm just kind of smoothing this out. Now, a lot of it is oozing up through the Hollytex, which is what we want, because the Hollytex will not stick. And I'll show you that once we dry this out. So I'm smoothing all those beads that were in here out. Now it's nice and smooth. Okay, so now the next step is paper towels. We want to soak up this moisture in the middle. There we go. That looks really nice. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get the whole thing wet because we don't want tight lines. It'll take it a minute to soak in. Okay, so this is working just fine, just takes a little bit. And yes, I am putting a lot of water down because we got to make sure. This cover is still sized, so that's the reason it's not taking up the water too easily. But it is taking it up. So it looks like I got some sort of floater in here. There we go. All right, so the cover's damp now. That ought to help these tide lines. Well, let's take a look when it's dry. Give it a good soaking here. All right, so that's about it. So now we're going to go ahead and damp dry it. And from there, it's going to go into the heat press. And then we'll take a look at it in a minute. Well, not a minute, but when everything's done. Okay, we're back. So this is heat dried under pressure in the heat press. And as I stated, the wheat paste does not like to stick to the Hollytex. So what we do is we just take our spatula and just kind of run it through here and separate everything. But, you know, I'm not applying a lot of force. This is just kind of chiseling and sawing away here. Okay, let's get this one done. All right. Make sure there's nothing else in here. Yep, that's all clear. Okay. And we flip it over. Do the same thing. Shouldn't have much out here. Yeah, it just comes right off. Okay, so there's that. And now what we want to do is trim off this excess Japanese paper. We want to trim it from the back side here. So I am going to go ahead and get the ruler out. Now we want to do it in such a way that we keep the alignment with the bottom edge. And you got to remember this a square bound. So I'm just going to take it from the first primary edge here and just take a notch out of it. Okay, there's one. Then I'll switch this over to the other side here. And we'll notch it from here. That way we get all the angles correct. Okay, we'll spin this around. And we'll do the same thing up here. Okay. All right. So now we have a cover. It's got a spine in here. It's still nice and stiff. Now what we're going to do, when we make the square bind, this is going to go in the humidity chamber and get softened up a bit. So that makes it more pliable. And we'll shape everything so it's got that nice square look again. So we'll use this same edge. So that's about it. Okay, so the cover's done. What I am going to do is notch out some pieces in here. Any of the little holes, I don't want it to be considered filler. So we'll just make a little hole with the scalpel. And that's about it. So I have no idea what's going to happen grade-wise, whether it's going to be a purple label or a blue. We're doing everything in accordance with it being a blue label. The only question will be is criteria on when I re-glue this. So I'm rebinding the book, but I'm doing it in an archival way. However, putting the glue in there is not necessarily removable. So it's going to be an interesting challenge to see how they grade this book. I kind of suspect it's going to come back as a blue label. I hope not, but it is what it is. All right, so much for now. We'll talk to you later. And if you haven't tuned in to our live show yet, Dr. Paul from Liberty Hill Comics, Phantom Phil from Phantom Restorations, and myself, we have a live chat. We take your questions. We answer as many as we possibly can. And we try to choose interesting topics for the evening to talk about regarding comic conservation, preservation, and restoration. So please join us. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching.